So then Syrian forces are using heavy artillery to crush anti-government resistance in the province of Idlib. Residents there have told Al Jazeera they fear the military onslaught will be worse than the bombardment of Homs. Well, these exclusive pictures are the latest from inside Idlib. Tight reporting restrictions have limited the international media's access to Syria, but Al Jazeera's Anita McNaught and her team were the only international TV crew in Idlib city when the assault began. And we can speak to Anita right now, who's crossed the border into southern Turkey. Anita, it's so hard, it has been so hard, hasn't it, to get perspective and context out of Syria. Well, now we can, from your experiences. What exactly is going on inside Idlib?
Well, the reality is gruesome, Nick. There's no other word for it. We saw a great deal come out of Homs that was deeply disturbing. I think the reality for Idlib is more so. Let me describe what the residents are facing there. For days now, they've watched a noose being tightened on the city as tanks, there's more than 50 of them now, slowly gathered to the perimeter and drew ever closer. They knew what was coming. And those tanks surrounded the entire city. It's not in a situation like Homs, where you had a few districts that were against the government and another part of the city that was in favour of the government, and you had an argument that perhaps you were protecting one side of the city for the other. This is an entire city that rejects the government in Damascus and is asking for its own freedoms, its own representation. It's not asking for independence, it's just asking for democracy. And the government machine has basically rolled in and is bombarding the town in a way that is really, it defies belief. It's in breach of God knows how many conventions. They are shelling randomly into the city. They are using tank shells, artillery, and they're firing from heavy caliber machine guns mounted on armoured personnel carriers. As we were there on Saturday morning at 6 a.m. when the bombardment started, the tanks moved closer, the bombardment began, they encroached on the west side of the city and were simply popping in rounds anywhere they wanted to. That kind of random, unpredictable attack on a civilian area is one that absolutely terrorizes the population there. People were running in all directions, not knowing where the next round would strike, not knowing where the next building would have the side blown out of it. The scene was of absolute chaos and terror, but one that had been building for days before, and one that the international community perhaps could have anticipated and done more to prevent.
Yeah, getting a real sense of the terror that the residents there face, and from your experiences there. Tell us about the FSA, the Free Syrian Army. They've been talking up, yesterday they were talking up this helicopter that they apparently shot down. How militarily capable are they of taking on the Syrian army, do you think?
Well, I can't corroborate the shooting down of the helicopter either, except to say that they certainly believed it yesterday. We're waiting for video evidence to emerge of it. It happened 5 kilometers outside Idlib city where we were, so we didn't see it go down if it did. It is an unequal battle of the most tragic sort. The army of Bashar al-Assad is an enormous army, more than 600,000 soldiers, more than 5,000 tanks, more than 2,500 BNPs, they call them, armoured personnel carriers that I described earlier, enormous quantities of artillery. What the Syrian Free Army has to fight with in Idlib is very, very limited. Kalashnikovs they've bought on the black market for inflated prices, rifles they've managed to either take or buy off the Syrian army, a few RPGs they've salvaged from somewhere, some aging guns that have come in, they tell us, from Iraq, but it's absolutely desperate. The black market price of a Kalashnikov now $1,300, a single bullet on the black market now $3, and Syria is not a rich country. People do not have a disposable income. I can't begin to describe how different this is to the scenario in Libya, where the rebels liberated vast quantities of Gaddafi's armory and had limitless supplies of weapons of all types to use against Colonel Gaddafi. This is a tragically outgunned defense of the city, and I have to say that's the other point worth making. It is a defense of Idlib. The fighters of the Free Syrian Army in Idlib are the sons of Idlib. There are no foreign fighters there. There are no terrorists, as the Syrian government claims. They're not being reinforced by anyone from outside the country. In fact, they were refusing on Saturday help from fighters wanting to join them inside the city. They are young men from inside Idlib trying to defend their homes and their families against a gathering storm of the most inhumane and savage variety, and we witnessed it.
And Anita, important to remember that while you were there, while those pictures were being shot of those children looking terrified, just not being able to understand, of course, what's going on. So often it's children caught in the front line. You had Kofi Annan in town, in Damascus, trying to persuade President Assad on the route to peace.
It's extraordinary. I mean, if ever the international community needed to understand that the regime in Damascus now feels it is untouchable, that was the symbolic visit that told it to the world. What is happening in Idlib will be seen, I am sure, as a crime against humanity. There is much there that the International Criminal Court could potentially deal with. But nothing is stopping it from happening. And the residents, were they not so afraid, were they not dealing with an onslaught on all their homes, on this city of merely 140,000 people, had they the luxury of reflecting on the irony of it all, wonder what on earth the international community thought it stood for anymore, when they were so clearly so vulnerable, so clearly so defenseless, and the action taken by the army against them so overwhelming and so merciless. Can no one do anything to help us, is what they said to me again and again. We are fighting this alone. And they are.
Well, Anita, it's a chilling insight you're presenting into this ongoing assault on Idlib, but thanks for that reporting there, Anita McNaught.